I want to speak to the part of you that's been feeling stuck. You've tried, you've prayed, you've believed, but it seems like something is still holding you back. Maybe it's a habit you can't break, a mindset you can't shake, or a situation that keeps repeating itself. But I came with good news. You don't have to stay bound. Those chains, fear, guilt, addiction, depression, they are not your identity. They are not your destiny. God didn't create you to live tied up in limitation. He created you to live free, whole, and victorious. Today, I want to declare over your life the chains are breaking. Let me tell you something powerful today. Not all chains are made of iron and steel. Some of the most difficult chains to break are the ones no one else can see. The chains of fear, the chains of rejection, the chains of shame, guilt, insecurity. Those invisible chains can hold you just as tightly as any prison bar. You may look fine on the outside. You show up, you smile, you say the right things. But deep down, you know something is holding you back. You feel stuck in a pattern, stuck in a mindset, stuck in a cycle. And you wonder, will I ever be free? Here's the good news. Yes, you will. You weren't created to live bound. You weren't designed to walk around carrying emotional baggage, mental strongholds, or spiritual weights. There's a freedom with your name on it. There's a destiny waiting on the other side of your breakthrough. But before those chains can fall off your life, you have to recognize what's really holding you back. Some people have been carrying chains for so long, they don't even know they're there. They think it's just part of their personality. I've always been anxious. I've always felt unworthy. I've always struggled with anger. No, that's not who you are. That's a chain. That's a lie that's been repeated so often, you've started to believe it's true. But just because you've carried something for a long time doesn't mean it belongs to you. That fear, that addiction, that generational pattern, that's not your identity and it's not your inheritance. Some chains are inherited. You saw your parents battle depression, and now it's in your life. You watched your family struggle with finances, and now lack is all you've ever known. You grew up in an environment of chaos, and now you find yourself creating the same chaos. But hear me, you are the one chosen to break that chain. You're not here to repeat the dysfunction. You're here to end it. You are the bloodline breaker. You are the one that sets a new standard. Just because the people before you were bound doesn't mean you have to stay bound. You see, the enemy is subtle. He doesn't always show up with loud distractions. Sometimes he just whispers lies in your ear until you stop believing for better. You'll never be good enough. You'll never get out of debt. You'll never be happy again. No one will love you. And before you know it, you're living under the weight of words that were never meant to define you. But here's the truth. Those lies are the chain. That voice telling you you're not worthy, that's the bondage. And the moment you recognize it, you can reject it. Chains are often built one link at a time. A bad experience here, a hurtful comment there, a failure, a betrayal, a loss. And before long, you've got this whole chain wrapped around your identity. But friend, just like the chain was built over time, it can be broken in an instant. It only takes one touch from God to shatter what's been holding you. One shift in your thinking, one moment of faith, one decision to believe again. But you have to want to be free. You have to be tired of being tired. You have to say, I may not know how this chain came, but I refuse to let it stay. And when you get that resolve in your spirit, when you get that holy fire that says, this ends with me, that's when things begin to change. I've met people who are brilliant, talented, full of potential, but they're living far below what's possible, not because they lack ability, but because they've accepted the lie that they're not enough. That's the chain. And as long as you keep agreeing with the chain, you empower it. But when you start agreeing with your freedom, when you say, I am who God says I am fearfully and wonderfully made, I am blessed and highly favored, I am the head and not the tail, that's when the chains start falling off. And don't think for a moment that just because you're still struggling, that freedom isn't possible. The process might be messy. The healing might take time, but every step you take toward wholeness is a link being broken. Every time you forgive instead of holding a grudge, that's a chain snapping. Every time you show up when you feel like giving up, that's progress. Don't minimize the small steps. They lead to big breakthroughs. Here's another truth you need to grab hold of today. What you tolerate will eventually dominate. If you tolerate that toxic mindset, I'll always be broke, I'll always be alone, I'll never be happy, that thinking will dominate your life. If you tolerate that secret addiction, it will start calling the shots. If you tolerate dysfunction in your relationships, you'll begin to believe that's all you're worth. But when you decide, I'm not putting up with this anymore, that's when the tide turns. There's power in a made-up mind. You may not have the strength to do it on your own, but when your spirit says no more, heaven backs you up. You've got angels fighting for you. You've got grace surrounding you. You've got the Almighty on your side. And when you draw the line in the sand and say, this is where it ends, things begin to shift in the atmosphere. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy. The moment you try to leave bondage, resistance shows up, just like the Israelites leaving Egypt. The moment they tasted freedom, Pharaoh chased them. That's how you know the chain is breaking. When all hell starts breaking loose to try to pull you back. But you've got to keep moving forward. Don't go back to the comfort of your chains just because freedom feels unfamiliar. Don't settle for a little bit of peace when God wants to give you complete deliverance. Some of you have been in environments that have trained you to settle. You've been surrounded by people who are still living with their chains, and now they're telling you to be realistic. But listen, you weren't called to be realistic. You were called to walk by faith, not by sight. You were called to believe for the impossible. Don't let the voices around you talk you out of the freedom within you. You may have been born into a situation where the odds were stacked against you. Poverty, abuse, rejection, addiction. But that's not the end of your story. You serve a chain-breaking God. The same power that raised Christ from the dead is living inside of you. That means no chain is too strong. No past is too dark. No generational curse is too deep. You are not powerless. You are not stuck. You are not beyond help. You are a candidate for freedom. And here's the shift. Freedom doesn't start with changing your situation. It starts with changing your mind. The enemy knows if he can keep your thinking bound, he can keep your life bound. That's why the battle is in your thoughts. That's why you wake up feeling defeated before the day begins. But when you renew your mind with the truth, you unlock your breakthrough. You start saying, I'm not a victim. I'm a victor. I'm not cursed. I'm blessed. I'm not broken. I'm being rebuilt. When you stop tolerating what's been dominating you, your authority rises. You realize, I don't have to keep living like this. I don't have to keep struggling. I don't have to keep repeating the same cycles. And in that moment, you reclaim your power. You start walking in who you were created to be. You start stepping into your freedom. The addiction may have lasted years, but one moment of divine intervention can end it. The depression may feel heavy, but one word from God can lift it. The generational curse may go back centuries, but only takes one obedient heart to break it. You don't need a perfect past. You don't need all the answers. You just need a made-up mind that says, I'm done being dominated by this. I'm ready to walk in freedom. So today, if you feel the weight of invisible chains, if you've been living under the shadow of something that keeps pulling you down, I want to remind you, you don't have to live that way. You weren't created to carry chains. You were created to carry purpose. You were designed to shine. You were chosen to rise above. Don't accept the chain as your identity. It's not who you are. It's what you're breaking free from. And when you do break free, and you will, it's not just about your life. It's about every person watching you. Your freedom will become the evidence that it's possible. Your healing will show others that restoration is real. Your deliverance will inspire someone else to believe again. So keep pushing, keep believing, keep declaring your freedom. The chains that have held you for so long are not permanent. They are temporary and they are losing their grip. You are stronger than you think. You are more powerful than you know. And you are closer to your breakthrough than you realize. The chains are breaking one step at a time. Keep moving forward. My children, let me remind you of something today. You weren't meant to fight every battle on your own. You weren't designed to carry the weight of life by sheer willpower, by gritting your teeth and pushing harder. My children, there's a reason some chains won't break no matter how much effort you give. There's a reason you feel like you're giving it your all, but still coming up short. It's not because you're weak. It's not because you're a failure. It's because some chains can't be broken with natural strength. You need supernatural power. You need heaven's help. So often, we're taught that we just try harder. If we just man up or push through, we'll get the breakthrough. And while discipline is important, my children, and yes, persistence matters, there are some battles you'll never win until you stop fighting alone and let God fight for you. Because willpower can only take you so far. Willpower will get tired. Willpower will say, I can't do this anymore. But when you tap into God's power, children, that's when things start to shift. That's when chains that have been there for years start to fall off. You might be saying, I've done everything I know to do. I've read the books. I've gone to therapy. I've made the resolutions, but nothing's changed. Don't be discouraged. You need is not more striving. What you need is surrender. What you need is to say, God, I've done all I can. Now I'm trusting you to do what only you can. That's when real freedom begins. You weren't designed to carry that addiction, that shame, that anxiety all by yourself. You weren't created to be your own savior. That's why Jesus came, to do what we could never do in our own strength. And the beauty of it is when you admit your weakness, that's when His strength becomes perfect in you. When you say, God, I can't, but I know you can. That's when the chains start losing their grip. Think about it. If we could break every chain through willpower alone, there'd be no need for grace. But grace says, I see your struggle and I'm stepping in. I see your pain and I'm not turning away. I see the chain and I've got the key. Grace doesn't just cover you. It empowers you. It gives you the strength to rise again when your strength is gone. It gives you the ability to stand when everything in you wants to quit. There are some strongholds that only fall when you tap into divine power. Some habits only break when you stop saying, I've got this, and start saying, God, I need you. And here's the amazing thing. God is not intimidated by your struggle. He's not surprised by your chain. He's not disgusted by your weakness. He's drawn to it. He's drawn to the humble heart, the heart that says, I can't do this without you. And when you invite God into your battle, everything changes. Suddenly, you're not fighting alone. You've got heaven's armies backing you up. You've got angels surrounding you. You've got the Spirit of God rising up inside of you saying, we're not quitting here. We're not giving up now. This victory is already yours. But you've got to stop leaning on your own understanding. You've got to stop relying only on what you can see, feel, and figure out. Because some of the most powerful breakthroughs don't make sense in the natural. They come through prayer, through worship. Children, they're declaring the truth when everything around you is telling you the opposite. That's why what you speak matters. Children, that's why your words are more than just noise. They're weapons. See, you may not be to break the chain physically, but you can speak the truth until the chain breaks spiritually. You can declare your freedom even while you're still fighting. You can say, I am free. Before you feel free, you can say, I am whole, while you're still healing. Because your words have the power to shift the atmosphere. Your words can open prison doors. Don't underestimate the power of your confession. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. What you speak, you invite. What you declare, you begin to experience. That's why the enemy works overtime to keep you speaking defeat. He wants you saying things like, I'll never get out of this. I can't, Jabe. It's too late for me. Because every time you speak those words, you're tightening the chains. But every time you speak life, every time you declare truth, those chains start to loosen. You've got to start speaking from a place of victory, not from a place of defeat. You've got to see yourself the way God sees you. Not as someone struggling to be free, but as someone already set free. Not as someone stuck in the mess, but as someone destined for more. When you align your words with God's word, power is released. When you say what He says about you, you start walking in the authority He's already given you. So stop saying, I'm just a worrier. I've always been this way. I guess I'll never change. No, those words are reinforcing your chains. Start saying, I have the mind of Christ. I walk in peace. I'm not who I used to be. I'm being transformed. Stop saying, this addiction will always have a hold on me. Start saying, whom the Son sets free is free indeed. Stop saying, I'll never forgive them. Start saying, God's grace is helping me release every hurt and walk in freedom. You've got to speak your way out of bondage. You've got to declare your deliverance even when you don't feel it yet, because your words create your world. If you keep speaking defeat, don't be surprised when you keep living in defeat. But if you'll start speaking faith, even in the face of fear, you'll see those chains start to break. Let me ask you, what are you saying about your situation? What are you saying about your identity? What are you saying about your future? Because your words are either reinforcing the chain or breaking it. If you want to change your life, you've got to change what you're saying. And don't just speak once and stop. Be relentless with your confession. Be bold with your declaration. When Jesus spoke to the storm, He didn't whisper. He said, peace, be still, with authority. When He spoke to the dead, He didn't question whether they rise. He commanded it. And that same power lives in you. When you speak, heaven hears. Chains shake, darkness trembles. Even if the change doesn't happen overnight, keep speaking. Even if the chains still rattle when you walk, keep declaring your freedom, because the word doesn't return void. What you speak in faith will eventually show up in your reality. It may take time, but the shift is happening. Some people get discouraged because they don't see instant results. They say, I've been speaking life, I've been declaring truth, but I'm still in the same situation. Don't give up. Just like a seed planted in the ground, your words are doing work beneath the surface. You can't see it yet, but the root is forming. The foundation is shifting. The breakthrough is coming. And if you keep watering that seed with your faith-filled words, it will eventually sprout into freedom. There's a reason the enemy wants you silent. There's a reason he wants you to just accept reality and stop speaking the promises of God, because he knows the moment you open your mouth and start declaring truth, he loses his grip. He knows your words are dangerous. He knows when you say, I'm breaking this addiction, I'm overcoming this depression, I'm stepping into my calling. You're not just talking, you're waging war. Children, you don't have to feel powerful to speak powerfully. You don't have to wait until everything looks perfect to start talking like it is. Some children, sometimes the most powerful declarations are the ones made in the middle of the storm. When everything says you're still bound and you declare, I'm free, that's faith. Spiritual warfare, that's the sound of chains breaking. So today, make up your mind. You're not going to fight in your own strength anymore. You're not going to rely solely on willpower. You're going to invite God into the struggle. You're going to speak life into every dead place. You're going to declare your freedom, your healing, your restoration. Children, and you're going to believe that what you say in faith will manifest in your life. Because your words aren't just noise. They are the very tools heaven uses to move things on your behalf. When you speak, you are setting things in motion. You are unlocking doors. You are breaking chains. Sometimes the hardest chains to break aren't physical, emotional, or even mental. They're relational. The kind of chains that come from being surrounded by the wrong voices, the wrong influences, the wrong people. You can be doing everything right. Praying, there's believing, speaking faith. But if the people around you are speaking fear, doubt, and defeat, it will start to affect your spirit. My children, it will weigh you down in ways you don't even realize. Not because you're weak, because who you walk with matters. Who you listen to matters. You weren't created to carry everyone else's opinions. You weren't meant to be chained to toxic relationships, to people who constantly pull you down. My children, this drain your energy and make you question your worth. Just because someone's been in your life a long time doesn't mean they're meant to stay. Some people were part of your history, but they're not meant to be part of your destiny. And if you keep trying to take everyone with you to the next level, you'll find yourself stuck in the same place year after year, because not everyone is assigned to your purpose. There are some chains you have to break by creating distance. Distance from negativity, distance from jealousy, distance from gossip. You can't walk in freedom if you're constantly surrounded by bondage. Some people are so bound themselves, they can't stand to see you free. My children, they don't want you healed, they want you whole. Because your freedom reminds them of what they haven't dealt with in their own lives. So instead of encouraging you, they criticize you. Instead of cheering you on, they try to keep you small. That's a chain. The truth is, you can't soar with eagles if you're hanging around chickens. You can't rise into all God has for you if you're constantly trying to convince people who don't see your value. Stop trying to prove yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Stop giving your energy to relationships that do nothing but take. Stop explaining your dream to people who aren't called to see it. That's emotional bondage, and it's time to break free. You don't need everyone to understand. You don't need everyone to approve. What you need is clarity in your spirit. Clarity that says, I'm not going to let someone else's insecurity limit my destiny. Just because someone can't handle your growth doesn't mean you need to shrink back. Just because someone walks away doesn't mean you've lost something. Sometimes subtraction is addition. Sometimes there's the very people you thought you couldn't live without are the ones God removes to make room for better. And I know it's not easy. Some of these relationships are deep. They've been around for years. You've got history. But history doesn't equal destiny. Children, just because someone's been with you doesn't mean they're for you. And if they're constantly sowing doubt into your dream, if they're always minimizing your vision, if they're feeding your fear instead of your faith, it's okay to say, I love you, but I can't stay tied to this. That's not pride. That's wisdom. That's protection. Sometimes the enemy doesn't send an attack. He sends a person that looks good, sounds right, feels comfortable, but is slowly pulling you out of alignment. And you don't even realize it until one day you wake up and feel spiritually dry, emotionally drained, mentally confused. That's what happens when you're yoked to the wrong people. It's a silent chain. But when you recognize it, when you say, I'm not going to stay connected to what's breaking me, freedom begins. You were never meant to live chained to dysfunction. You were never meant to stay in cycles of manipulation, emotional abuse, or one-sided loyalty. You were made for healthy, life-giving relationships. People who call out the best in you. People who challenge you to rise higher. People who pray with you, believe with you, and speak life over your future. But here's the thing. Sometimes you have to walk alone for a season to discover your strength. Children, sometimes you have to be willing to let go of familiar voices so you can hear the right one. Elders, you have to silence the noise around you so you can hear the whisper of truth inside you. That's when you remember who you are. That's when your confidence comes back. That's when the weight lifts. You realize, I've been carrying things that don't belong to me. I've been holding on to relationships that have expired. It's okay to outgrow people. It's okay to move forward. Growth requires separation. Maturity means making hard choices. And sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is say goodbye to a situation that's been slowly suffocating you. Don't stay loyal to dysfunction. Don't stay tied to someone who only loves you when you're small. That's not love. That's control. That's not support. That's a leash. And you were never meant to live on a leash. You were meant to run free. You'll know the right people by they make your spirit feel. They'll bring peace, not pressure. Joy, not judgment. Clarity, not confusion. And when you find those people, you hold on. You water those relationships. You thank God for them. Because healthy connection is part of your healing. But for now, if you need to create space to breathe again, to find your footing again, to reconnect with who you really are, it's okay. Sometimes the chain breaks the moment you say, I choose peace over pressure. I choose purpose over popularity. I choose freedom over familiarity. And when you let go of the wrong people, the right ones start showing up. People who speak life into your dreams. Children, there's people who remind you of your value. People who don't compete with you but celebrate you. That's the beauty of breaking relational chains. What you lose is nothing compared to what you gain. But there's another kind of chain that holds so many people back. One that's not wrapped around your relationships, but around your view of yourself. It's the chain of guilt, the weight of shame, the voice that says, after what you did, how could you possibly be free? How could you be blessed? How could you still have a future? That voice is a liar. That voice is not from God. That voice is the enemy trying to keep you locked in a prison you've already been set free from. Because here's the truth on your mistakes don't disqualify you. Your past doesn't cancel your purpose. The moment you turned your heart back toward what's right, forgiveness came rushing in. Mercy showed up. Grace covered you. But what good is being forgiven if you still live like you're guilty? That's the chain. You're forgiven, but you still wear shame like a badge. You're redeemed, but you still punish yourself for the past. Friend, children, that's not humility. That's bondage. You've got to stop replaying the failure. Stop rehearsing the mistake. Stop agreeing with the guilt. You are not what you did. You are who God says you are. And He says you're loved. He says you're clean. He says you're whole. That's your true identity. Children, and when you finally believe that, when you finally say, I don't have to earn forgiveness, I receive it, that's when the chain breaks. Shame is a heavy burden. It will rob you of joy, strip you of peace, and blind you to your potential. It will make you think you're unworthy of love, undeserving of blessing, incapable of change. But shame is a liar. It's a chain that breaks the moment you stop identifying with your sin and start identifying with your Savior. You are not your failure. My children, you are not your addiction. You are not divorce, your bankruptcy, your betrayal. You are a child of God, forgiven, restored, and free. And when you live from that place, when you walk like someone who's been forgiven, you begin to see life differently. You stop expecting punishment and start expecting favor. You stop avoiding God and start running to Him because you know you're welcome. You know you belong. You know the price has already been paid. Don't let the enemy keep you in a prison that grace has already unlocked. The door is open. All you have to do is walk out, leave the guilt behind, leave the shame on the floor, leave the regret in the past. You can't rewrite what happened, but you can write a new ending. And that ending doesn't include chains. It includes freedom, peace, and purpose. Some people think they have to carry guilt as a way to prove they've changed. But real change doesn't come from guilt. It comes from love. It's love that transforms. It's love that says, you made a mistake, but you're not a mistake. It's love that calls you higher, even when you've fallen low. And when you let that love in, when you let wash over the broken places, when you finally believe that nothing you've done is greater than the mercy of God, that's when the chain snaps. You don't have to earn your way back. Children, you don't have to pay penance. All you have to do is believe. Believe you're worthy. Believe you're accepted. Believe you're free. That belief will change how you talk, how you walk, how you dream. Because people who know they're forgiven walk differently. They carry hope. They expect good things. They stop disqualifying themselves from blessings they're already qualified for. You may have spent years punishing yourself, but today can be the day you let the guilt go. Today can be the day you say, I've been forgiven, and I forgive myself too. Because the only thing standing between you and your freedom is your agreement. What are you agreeing with? The voice of shame, or the voice of truth? You can't agree with both. You have to choose. Choose mercy. Choose love. Let those be the words you speak over yourself. Let that be the identity you wear. You are not broken. You are not beyond repair. You are beloved. You are whole. And no matter what happened before, there's a new day. So shake off the shame. Cut off the toxic ties. Step into the freedom that's already yours. There are no more chains, only choices. Choose healing. Choose peace. Choose to believe the truth over the lies. Because the moment you do, everything begins to change.